So let's consider the same question as we did earlier. That is, how do we find inverse of a given function, which was f of x is equal to 2x plus 1, and use the second method. So what was the first method? The first method was based on this definition, which said that if given a f, which is from x to y, if there exists a g from y to x such that g composed with f is identity on set x and f composed with g is identity function on set y, then g is the inverse of f. The second method is based on the definition that function f is invertible if and only if f is 1, 1 and onto. So in this case, first thing is to show f is 1, 1, which most of you are very comfortable showing. But be careful how do you start and how do we write the same thing that you actually are thinking about. So the first sentence here is important. Start with x1 and x2 belonging to R, which was the domain of f, and assume that f of x1 is equal to f of x2. From here, we need to conclude that x1 is equal to x2, which in this case is very simple to show, and so f is 1, 1. The second part is to show that f is onto. And for that, you start by thinking of a y which is equal to 2x plus 1, and you have to show that there exists an x such that f of x is equal to y. So what would that x be which would give you such a y? And so in this case, as you take y to be equal to 2x plus 1, x turns out to be y minus 1 over 2. So given a y belonging to R, there exists a y minus 1 over 2 which is also a real number such that f of x is equal to y. So for y belonging to R, there exists an x such that f of x is equal to y. And so we say f is onto. Since f is 1, 1 and onto, f must be invertible. Now what would the inverse be? Now from this process of showing that the function is onto, you have actually derived the result. That is the rule which takes the y back to the x. So for every y, there exists a y minus 1 by 2. And therefore we say that f is invertible. And how do we define the inverse? F inverse is a function from real numbers to real numbers where f inverse of x is equal to x minus 1 over 2. If you are thinking in terms of y and you prefer to write it as f inverse of y is equal to y minus 1 by 2, that is also perfectly fine. What you are looking at is the conclusion in complete f inverse to be a function from real numbers to real numbers such that f inverse of y is equal to y minus 1 over 2. Hope this has helped you to understand both the techniques.